All right, it's a beautiful day in March here, and I don't know, I thought I would just make a little video about the Blu-rays I decided to purchase over the past several years. I'm pretty minimalist, so I don't buy a lot of things, but I did buy these, and I'll kind of explain why. So the first Blu-ray I bought in my life was a couple years ago now. It was this movie Long Way North, directed by Remy Shea, I believe? Remy Shea, yeah. And I don't know, I watched this on, I believe, Peacock one night. It was just streaming, and I really loved this movie. And I thought that the audio was a little funky because it's only available in English to stream online. And so I bought it because the Blu-ray has the original French dub, and it was worth it. I mean, this movie it's very simple, so I hesitate to recommend it like wholeheartedly to everyone, but I love it. I absolutely love this movie. I've watched it like 5 times over the past several years. And yeah, it has this cool stylized um, animation that's just beautiful. And I believe the director is related to Cartoon Saloon. So it has a similar feel to their movies where it's something kids could watch, but it's a very mature story. It's not going out of its way to be unrealistic. Um, yeah, it's just a lovely story about a girl who is the daughter of a somewhat disgraced Russian aristocrat, and she goes on an adventure to try to find her grandfather who set sail in an icebreaker and then disappeared. And I would highly recommend it if you're into simple kids movies. It's wonderful. I got the Blu-ray for around $9 on Amazon. Amazon, of course, but what can you do? Yeah, I love it. And unfortunately, the director's next movie, which came out, I think, 5 years ago now in 2020, it's still not available anywhere to purchase legally. I have a I have a Blu-ray, a YouTube um, a YouTube bootleg of it that I downloaded in case it disappeared and I never got the chance to watch it again. But I really do want to watch it in higher quality than whatever the bootleg I have. So hopefully, I believe that one is called, what is it? Calamity, the childhood of Martha Jane Cannery, I think. Yeah. Anyway, a complete tangent because I don't own that movie, but Long Way North, highly recommend. One of my favorite Blu-rays I own. I've come around on the English dub. Actually, I can watch it and enjoy it. It's just the audio is a little poorly recorded or mixed or something, so it doesn't fit quite as well with the other audio of the film. But I kind of like the English voice acting too. But original director intended voice acting is the way to go. So if you can get the Blu-ray and watch it in French, very good. All right, so the next movie I bought is Wildlike, and I bought this for quite a bit of money. I think I bought it for the full $30 price that they're selling it for. And I bought it because I watched with my family. I'm from Alaska, as you can kind of see within the background. And I watched with my family. I watched True Detective Night Country, and I'm a True Detective fan. Even the lesser seasons I enjoy. Um, I didn't mind season 2, although I watched it a long time ago. And I went into True Detective Night Country with pretty high hopes. Jodie Foster. It's a True Detective season set in Alaska, and I hated that show. I think it's horrible. I its representation of Alaska is awful, but just beyond that, I was not interested in it as a show. I can take some unrealistic Alaska. And so I went out and I was like, are there any movies that were actually filmed in Alaska? Because I don't think I've seen one. I guess technically Big Mirror, I think Big Miracle, the one with John Krasinski, that is, I think, filmed in Alaska, but it's not really places I recognize in Alaska. So I was wondering, was there ever a movie filmed like somewhere I've been, somewhere in the Fairbanks to Anchorage to Valdez, like lower quadrant of Alaska? And I found Wildlike. So this stars Ella Purnell and Bruce Greenwood. Ella Purnell's getting pretty big now, but this was when she was a lot younger. And I really, really like this movie. It's kind of it's pretty sad and emotional, but and it's a little messy. It's indie. It's not perfect, but I really liked it. I would highly recommend it if you check it out if you especially if you live in Alaska and you want to see a movie that was actually filmed, like it's filmed in Juneau, it's filmed in the road up from Anchorage to Denali, and then it's actually filmed in the Denali National Park as well, which is a place I've been so many times, and it's really cool to see an actually great film that was filmed someplace that I mean, I can drive to in 2 hours, and I've been so many times over the course of my life. And yeah, it's a really wonderful movie, and I'm glad I bought it, and it's still available. Yeah, I should watch it again. I've watched it, I believe, twice now, and yeah, I would recommend it. Now, the next movie I bought, I don't know what to say. It's I'm Blind Society. So this is a movie, very indie, very low budget. You can tell it was made during COVID, so not many people around. But I thought that it was just very funny. Um, I showed it to my parents for some reason. Uh, they didn't hate it, but they did not. I'm not sure why I showed it to my parents. Uh, it's a very, very strange movie, and it's about a woman who is not having very much success as a filmmaker. She decides to go back and finish this movie she made, where one of her friends told her that she would make a good murderer, and so she decided to make a movie about that by interviewing people that she knows. And then she slowly, as things in her life start to go south, she slowly starts to take the murder idea further and decides to start planning a murder, and it just escalates from there. And I think it's a very clever, funny movie. I've seen it twice, once with my parents. I still liked it, a little less than the first time, but it's still worth my time. I'm glad I own it. I have this slip cover from, got it off Vinegar Syndrome. I believe it's a, what is this? I forget the company that actually distributed this. To Catalog, yeah. Anyway, I was interested. It also contained all of her short films, and unfortunately, her short films are not that great. I was not a fan of her short films, and the director's commentary on here also made me a little bit less of a fan of her. It's one of those, sometimes you listen to directors and filmmakers talk about their movies, and you're like, wow, this person is amazing, and sometimes you're like, wow, this person really didn't understand what I loved about the movie that they made. And that's kind of what I felt here. I don't know if the people who made this movie understood why I loved it. They seemed to be a little bit more on the side of the main character, which is strange. Or maybe maybe she just acts like that in real life and is just a little bit of a strange person. But anyway, I'm glad she made this movie because I really like it. It's very funny, a little bit different than everything else I've seen. Uh, I don't know if I'd recommend you buy this one. I'm not sure why I own it, but I own it because it was one of those fancy limited edition slipcases that was only like, I don't know, $15 or $20. It was on sale. But yeah, it's a cool slipcase. Bonus features made me like the movie a little bit less, but I still like the movie. Yeah. All right. And then I decided to cancel a bunch of streaming services and start to spend a little bit more money on Blu-ray discs. But then I realized I couldn't fully cancel all of them because I have a family that wants to stream things and we share accounts. But I canceled. I reduced my streaming services that I was paying for by quite a bit, and I bought two Blu-rays, each $10 each, to make up the difference in cost that I saved. And the first one I bought was Morvern Callar. Now I had already seen this movie at this point, and I already knew that it was something special. But since I bought it, I've watched it twice more, and I think this is just my favorite movie of all time. Um, Highly recommend it if you haven't seen it before. It's it's Lynn Ramsey, so you know it's going to be pretty dark and weird. Um, but it's just beautiful looking. The soundtrack is amazing, and for Lynn Ramsey, it doesn't make me feel like that pit of knots and pain in my stomach, like something like Ratcatcher or We Need to Talk About Kevin does. Those are really like just day runner movies, whereas this one, I feel like it's just an interesting character study following this very strange woman who each time I watch it, I have a different opinion. I used to think she was kind of a psychopath, and now I've come around and I kind of I'm kind of on Morven's side. I really love this movie. I could watch it right now. I could put it on and have a good time. Unfortunately, I'm addicted to Letterboxd, so I have to watch new movies to increase my view count. But otherwise, I would just be watching Morvern Callar every night because it is the best movie ever made. Now, this is a Blu-ray of a movie. I have not watched the Blu-ray yet, but I have watched the movie twice. and that is Burning by director Lee Chang-dong. And he is by far my favorite South Korean director, and I think, judging by the movies of his that I've watched, I still have one left to go. Um, I think he's just my favorite director of all time. Because I don't know if there's any other directors that have 3 10 out of 10s, and maybe a fourth in there too. Once I watched Poetry finally, but yeah, this movie, the first time I watched it, I didn't quite get it. I was like, this is a really cool thriller, but I'm not sure why it gets so much praise. And then I showed it to my mom, and she was not the biggest fan. It's very dark, but I had the most like transcendent experience watching this a second time. It's just a movie you can think about endlessly because the first time I watched it, I didn't get it. I thought it was just a clear cut story. Uh, well, I won't spoil it, but I had one interpretation that I thought was infallible. Watching it a second time, I realized there is nothing 100% nailed down in this movie. And this movie, it feels like you've read like a great piece of literature. There's so much going on in this movie. There's so many ways you could interpret every little action, and it's just beautiful. And yeah, I love this movie so much. I could watch it over and over again, just like Morvern Callar. It's a little bit less fun to watch than Morvern Callar, so I wouldn't call it. I couldn't just put it on every night like Morvern Callar, but yeah, I love Burning. I love all of Lee Chang-dong's movies. And speaking of which, my most recent purchase is the Poetry of Lee Chang-dong box set, which contains 4 films that are otherwise, I believe, unreleased on Blu-ray, which are Greenfish, Peppermint Candy, Oasis, and Poetry. And I have watched of these. I have watched the first 3, and Oasis. I would have watched Poetry, but Oasis. Oasis, I kind of broke down after watching Oasis, and I had to take. I haven't been watching. I usually watch some pretty dark, intense films. I haven't been watching those recently because Oasis kind of destroyed me. Oasis is one of the bravest ideas for a movie I've ever seen because if it was not done well, it could have come off so poorly. Because Oasis is the story of somewhat. It's never fully described what he is, but he has some mental issue going on, some disability, and he's just got out of prison for apparently a drunk driving accident where he killed a man. And he's kind of erratic and violent, and his family doesn't seem to want anything to do with him. He's just a sad character. And for some reason, he goes and he visits the family of the man he killed. And there he sees that the daughter of the man he killed is this woman with severe cerebral palsy. And he thinks she's pretty and he thinks she's fascinating because he's never seen someone with that condition. And so he starts sneaking into her apartment, and it's just it's one of the most upsetting movies I've ever seen, but one of the most incredible movies I've ever seen. I loved that movie so much. I think it instantly became one of my favorites. I think I might like it even more than Burning, even though Burning is more of a meticulously crafted masterpiece. But Oasis. I don't know if a movie has had that like full on effect on me. There's a few moments of magical realism in it where things start happening that couldn't possibly happen, and I felt like I was flying. It was incredible, and yeah, it's profoundly upsetting, but at the same time hopeful. It's an incredible movie. I would recommend you buy this box set. I got it for $30. Um, it's worth the price just for Oasis. I've watched Peppermint Candy is also pretty decent. I liked Peppermint Candy. I have an issue with the later section of Peppermint Candy, but maybe kind of like Burning, I'll appreciate it more on a rewatch. And I'm just stealing myself to watch Poetry. And I don't own Secret Sunshine, but Secret Sunshine might be my favorite of his. I love Secret Sunshine. It's also incredible. Like I said, Lee Chang-dong, my favorite director. No regrets in purchasing these Blu-rays, and I'll probably buy Secret Sunshine at some point too to complete the set. But yeah, as much as I love movies, I don't buy very many, and these are the ones I have bought. Highly recommended, all of them, except maybe don't need to buy I Blame Society, but maybe check it out if you want a ridiculous indie comedy.